Prediction Markets Edge right here on the early line, a Friday edition, a new way to take a look at invest your money, get in, get out, get paid, all in a day's work, Joe. And we got some action tonight in the Sweet 16 and in the NBA, and also a little Major League Baseball sprinkled in as well. Good time to be out there as a sports fanatic, Joe, no?
Oh, Donnie, that's, the greatest time of year, is it not
Yep.
here? March Madness, right smack in the middle now. We've got Elite Eight, we'll have Final Four, and we still got another college tournament coming up around the corner. There's a lot going on here. A little something for everybody. In the predictive markets, boy, oh boy, a
Yes.
lot of value in some of these spots.
A lot of value, which includes Alabama and Michigan tonight. We had a video earlier on the early line that was like, hey, Nate, maybe I'll come back, maybe I won't, maybe I'll get more money. Well, maybe you'll be asking those questions if Michigan thumps them tonight. Why? Michigan currently trading at an 80% chance to win this basketball game. Alabama at only 20% here as the chance. You take a look on the points, 10.5 on Kalshi that we have Michigan favored by, which is currently trading at 45 cents. So a $100 investment. If you think Michigan wins by 11 plus, that pays back $223, Joe. That's plus money. But how about this? Points are expected. 172.5, Joe. That's excitement.
It is, but let me take it even a step further here,
Okay.
Donnie, because if you do think there is a path for Alabama to win this game, forget this game. Head over to the national championship market, where right now Alabama is trading at 1 cent. 1 cent to win the national championship. And what do we say, Donnie? I don't need them to win the national championship.
Yep.
I need them to win tonight, because if they win tonight, Donnie, you're going to get way more than what's on the money line for them. That you're talking about going from 1 cent, Donnie, to 20 cents possibly here. That market will go through the roof. That is where you can profit really well with the predictive market. So take the points, but take the national championship market, because that price is better than anything you're going to get in just the game markets here.
No doubt about it. And tonight, if you want a rock fight, if you want a guy, two teams getting down and dirty, it's Michigan State and it's UConn tonight. UConn currently trading at a 53% chance to win this game on the Kalshi Marketplace. Michigan State at 47%. And then if we're taking a look and we include the point spread, how about UConn to win this game by 2+ points, currently trading at 52 cents. Here's Dan Hurley talking about the situation setting up for tonight.
What do you think it says about the culture that people see, yelling or hard coaching and somehow think that's a problem?
Yeah, I just think that's, society. We've got soft in a lot of ways. I think with, with trying to develop young people. I think young people, the teachers and coaches that impact their lives the most are not the teachers and coaches that gave them a grade they didn't deserve. You remember the teachers and coaches that pushed you to your maximum. That pushed you beyond your comfort level, that got the most out of you, that English teacher that, made you do the work, and the tests were hard and you had to study hard. And just think the same thing applies to coaching. I feel like I got a responsibility. I coach 18, 19, 20-year-old men. There's a lot that I got to instill in them. There's a lot of discipline. There's a lot of accountability. There's a lot of commitment that I've got to instill in them to prepare them for the real world. The real world is tough. It's cruel. You got to be equipped. So on the flip side of how I'm driving them and pushing them to be the best that they can be and prepare them for life, I got a very close bond with my players. I love them. They know I love them. And a lot of our relationship that the media doesn't see, or times that we spend, together, laughing, joking, making fun of each other. You don't see that part of me. You unfortunately just sometimes see the monster.
Two old school style coaches tonight, Michigan State, UConn. Joe, what are we feeling?
Yeah, I mentioned this earlier, Donnie. I 15-1. Something's working for Hurley. Whatever he's got rolling over there, it's working. Over the last 4 NCAA tournaments, you don't go 15-1 against the number unless you know how to coach and how to scheme against the game's best. It's going to be a heck of a chess match here tonight, but ultimately, guys like Caravan, who have been there and done this before, I like the experience, and I like UConn to once again get it done.
Late night action tonight, Tennessee and Iowa State. Joe, on the Calci Marketplace here. Iowa State currently trading at a 62% chance to win this game outright. Tennessee, the underdog, at 38%. If you want an interest in the underdog, a $100 investment would pay back $264. If you include the point spread, Iowa State favored by 3.5, currently trading at 52 cents, Joe. A $100 investment on the favorite would pay back $193. Tennessee, Iowa State tonight.
This game, I think, is going to be a sneaky over here. Now, we don't know if Jefferson is playing or not for Iowa State, but the reality is Iowa State remains the 9th best three-point shooting team in the country. They hit almost 39% of their threes here. And you've got a Tennessee team that's playing faster this year than they have in years past, but they're also extremely sloppy with the ball. Donnie, they're one of the worst teams in turning it over offensively to the other team. You're going to give Iowa State, whether Jefferson's on the court or not, extra possessions and easy transition buckets. It's going to happen. Iowa State is going to score more than enough points to not only win and cover this game, but I think this game goes flying over the total.
We talk a lot here about the Sweet 16, the Elite 8 this weekend here, but the NBA still heating up on the hardwood here. Atlanta's going to take on Boston tonight with the Celtics trading at a 65% chance to win this game. Atlanta, the underdog, at 35%. If we bring in the point spread here on the Calci Marketplace, 5.5 listed and trading at 48 cents, which means if you think the Boston Celtics will win by margin tonight, a $100 investment pays back $209, Joe. That's plus money.
Yeah, it is. And listen, it's been nothing but Atlanta money in the marketplace so far from the opening last night. And listen, tough spot. They laid it out on the line, the Celtics, as a home dog against OKC last game. They were able to get it done. They're 7-2 with Tatum in that lineup now. But Atlanta is playing some of the best basketball and is the hottest team in the league right now. I would look in the prop market. I think expect the stars to deliver here. The Browns, the Jalen Johnsons of the world. Expect these guys to show up and show out with what should be, Donnie, actually a lower scoring game. Feels like it's going to come down to who's got that ball last, though, in the fourth quarter.
Certainly does. Take a look at another game in the association night. Miami and Cleveland. If you say, wait a second, didn't I just see that game? Yes, you did. One of those scheduling quirks in the NBA. It's almost like a back-to-back, and two teams play the same teams here. Cleveland opens up here as a 65% on Calci to win this game outright. Miami's the underdog, 35%. By the way, Miami did win the last game here, breaking a losing streak. And if you feel that they can double up on Cleveland, a $100 investment is going to pay back $286 on the spread line here, Joe. 47% chance that Cleveland wins this game by 6+ points, currently trading at 48 cents, which means a $100 investment if you feel that Cleveland wins and covers. That pays back $209, Joe.
Yeah, and again, I would caution folks here, one of the worst ATS teams, especially at home this year, are the Cleveland Cavs, especially as a home favorite, Donnie. 13-21 against the spread. And then you look on the flip side there with the Miami Heat, who have been one of the best road dogs against the number. 21-13-2 on the season. And Miami is finally healthy. They've got Powell, they've got Hero. There's a question on whether or not Jaime Jaquez Jr. is going to go. But if he does, if it ain't broke, I'm not fixing it. I'm taking the points here with the Miami Heat.
How about the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Los Angeles Dodgers? Major League Baseball, you saw them open up last night. The Dodgers hammered the Diamondbacks and are heavily favored to do the same today. A $100 investment on the Dodgers winning this game, Joe, only pays back $143. Ooh, boy.
Yeah, if you like the Dodgers, I like runs. And I think team totals are in the market with these pitchers going here tonight. And also maybe the total outs prop for these starting pitchers. Maybe look for them to go under because I don't see a lot of length out of either of these guys tonight.
Shop around, people, on FanDuel. A $100 wager pays back $140 on the Calci Marketplace on the Dodgers. A $100 investment here pays back $143. People, keep your options open here. Invest. Make the right decisions. You know what decision we're making next year? We'll bring on Tom Vecchio and talk even more Major League Baseball. We'll be right back.
I don't like to overthink it, Kevin. I really don't. And similar situation, I feel the same way when it comes to betting. I find like that Sunday night, so you're watching the NFL games, and all of us do it. Like, all right, let's look to next week now. You know what I mean? That Sunday, like, you know, the dust is settled on the games. They just ended. So I'm like, let's look at next week. My first reaction is always the best reaction.
Game time decisions only on SportsGrid.
This is why the regular season, Joe, does mean something, because Detroit is going to get a back-end team in the East to begin.
Yes, and it does. And it's just a very strange situation, unfortunate situation for Cade Cunningham in Detroit. But the good news is, if you keep playing teams like the Washington Wizards, well, you're not going to need Cade Cunningham to win those games like they did last night.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We are really starting to see that slowdown, and we're anticipating it with March Madness this year. You know, obviously, you don't have as many states going online. You know, gone are the days when you're adding 10 states every year, so the numbers will inflate that way. And you mentioned prediction markets taking money as well. One firm, HG Gambling Capital, estimates that they'll add about another $500 million in bets.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
You can put your skill and your luck to work on Kalshi. Why? They're offering $1 billion here. If you can pick the perfect bracket, sounds easy, Joe. Just pick the perfect bracket, get $1 billion.
Yeah, I think the odds of actually doing that, Donnie, are about the same if you're expecting to hit the Powerball lottery 6 times in a year.
Prediction Markets Edge.
Prediction Markets Edge on the Early Line on a Friday. Fun in Major League Baseball is opening day, opening week, opening month. What is it, baseball? New teams hitting the diamond today, and a lot of fun to be had. It's Donnie right side here along with Joe Ranieri and also Tom Vecchio. Tom, welcome into the program on a Friday. Love to have you.
Yeah, we have opening days, multiple days for the teams to get going. But, I'm excited for baseball season. Everything's starting fresh. We are dealing with, an interesting part of the year. We're trying to get a feel for different players, different pitchers, lineups, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm excited.
By the way, Tom, let's have some fun. Yesterday, the Dodgers opened up their season. A lot of fanfare. The stadium looked beautiful out there yesterday. You know, the gold-tinted uniforms, always a good touch. They drove around with Will Ferrell. They had a couple World Series trophies here, looking for their 3rd in a row. So let's go to the predictive markets here. Best pro baseball record. It's no surprise that it's Dodgers listed at 52%. But how about this, Tom? Trading in 2nd place at 22% as a chance. Woo, them Philadelphia Phillies with an opening day victory over Eovaldi. E-A-G-L-E-S. No, it's the Fighting Phils, baby. The team in the town here in Philly.
Yeah, certainly an interesting market. When it comes down to it, I don't like the Dodgers just because I think we're all in agreement that the Dodgers may take their foot off the gas at a certain point. The Phils could certainly challenge them, but the Phillies are in a tough division. I wouldn't go to the Yankees just because I think the AL East, everyone's just going to beat each other up at a certain point, and no one's going to be pulling away. To me, it's the Mariners. I really think that the Mariners could end with the best regular season record just because we're not worried about the Angels. I think Houston's going to be worse than they were last year. I'm high on the Rangers, but I don't expect them to be dramatically better. And I think the Astros are the team that not the Astros. The Mariners are a team going to pull ahead because we're not have to be worried about the Astros as we're year in and year out. I think they're the team to be interested in at this point.
Yeah.
It's the same old, Tom, right? If it ain't broke, let's not fix it there. How about the, might have after yesterday, how about some of the worst baseball that we might get this year? Because I think the White Sox are going, hey, hold my beer. You think that was bad last year? Wait till you see what we got this year.
Yeah, I still have a position on Washington to have the worst record, or I should say the fewest wins is the actual terminology. The Rockies are coming off an unbelievably terrible season, historically bad, but really the differential between the Rockies and the Nationals, the Rockies and the White Sox isn't as big as the odds would suggest. So I know the Nats came out firing yesterday, put up a ton of hits and a ton of runs, but frankly, I'd be looking to the Nats or the White Sox still. I wouldn't be looking to the Rockies. Like, it's not a foregone conclusion that they're going to blow as many leads as they did last year, that they're not going to convert as many wins as they had last year. So I'd be looking to one of those other teams rather than the Rockies.
And by the way, Tom and I have talked a lot here, Pro Baseball Today. Those Minnesota Twins are very interesting here because they're currently trading, Tom, in second at a 15% chance to have the worst record. And as we know, sold off a lot of players last year. Maybe sell off even more at the deadline, which means tanking in the second half of the season, maybe leading up to a lockout here. Another fun market here, Tom, on the predictive marketplace is the Pro Baseball Championship Series matchup. So who gets to the World Series from the National League and the American League? And it just feels like now, Tom, it's okay, just put the Dodgers in the National League and just try to pick the favorite here who's going to get there from the American League. And the favorite right now matchup, it's Seattle and it's Los Angeles at a 48% chance. How about that?
That is just way too rich for my blood. Like having a nearly 50% chance one game of the season. I think if we're looking to have a position and really play a long game on this, I think Boston and the New York Mets. And, we get a really good equity on that just because the Mets, that means they're overcoming the Phillies, they're overcoming the Dodgers, all these sorts of things, and the Cubs. And then same thing with the Red Sox. They're overcoming the Mariners, who are the favorites, the Yankees, all these things. So we're getting a nice position on two teams that realistically should be in the hunt when it's all said and done. And they're nowhere near the favorite. So I like that position on them.
Yeah.
Well, if you like them, who wins it, Tom? Who do you think where's the value right now for that?
For me, it would come down to right now the Mets, just based on how much further down they are in the marketplace. But I also trust their pitching staff. It's not to say I don't trust the Red Sox. They have some young pitchers that could be calling up, some young pitchers from the minors. But the Mets just have a good depth when it comes to pitching. Sean Manaea is starting in the bullpen for the Mets overall. And, if someone were to get hurt, I'm not saying he's the best starter, but if you can have him as a sixth guy to come out of the bullpen and be a spot starter just to eat up innings, that's not too bad. For me, the Red Sox, they still need to get one more pitcher because their lineup, I think, is going to score a ton of runs this year. But they need one more pitcher after Garrett Crochet that we saw, after some of the additions in the offseason. But I really do like them both this year.
Yeah, I do. I think Boston's going to be a fun team to watch certainly here, but Seattle's going to get a lot of hype. Even though they lost opening day, and I know you can't overreact on that, but understand this too. On the Kalshi Marketplace, to win the World Series, Los Angeles hammered the Diamondbacks yesterday. They actually went down, Tom, 0.1% in their market cap here at this point. So everybody looking towards the Dodgers, and rightfully so. There's no question about it. Seattle, New York, both New York teams, I should say, the Yankees and the Mets in there, along with Boston and Philadelphia. But how about some of the market movers over the past 30 days, and even with SportsGrid tracking it? Did you know SportsGrid here, who will win the 2026 World Series? Prediction. It's the Blue Jays here this year, but you look at those biggest market movers. The Red Sox, I like them. The Brewers, big day yesterday. And how about the Astros, Tom? Are you buying the Astros, Tom? Come on now. We're not buying them, are we?
No, can't be buying the Brewers or the Astros. Just the Brewers did nothing in the offseason. They lost talent when it was all said and done. The Astros, I just can't get past like the lineup. It's just really not that good. The back end of the rotation is just not that good. Josh Hader starting the year on IL is not a comforting thing. Frankly, I think there are far more interesting teams in both, obviously outside of the Dodgers in the NL, but neither of those teams, Brewers, Astros, out on them.
I'm looking so forward. I mean, you got to love it here, Tom, right? Because we've got so many teams that the public, you can tell right off the bat, loved on opening day. Now there is some kryptonite out there. There are some teams, I think, that are still a little bit overvalued. Who would you point to? I mean, great job, Milwaukee, but I still think they're going to be terrible this year. Who are some of those teams that you'd look to avoid?
It would be the Padres first and foremost. And I don't want to look at yesterday as like, they lost big, they put up, gave up a ton of runs, all these sorts of things. But with Nick Pivetta, Michael King, Randy Vasquez, that's just not a really good top end of the rotation. I know Joe Musgrove's on his way back. Ramon Marquez is there, Walker Buehler. I think the lineup is great, and the bullpen's fantastic. There's no doubt about it. But the pitching staff, the starting pitching staff, isn't good enough for them to consistently get to the bullpen for Mason Miller to shine. So I think the name brand value that the hitters have is overvaluing them in the marketplace, and I'd be looking to fade them going forward.
Love it. Start to stack up some of these statistics. Tom's going to be watching, it, all spring and summer long, and be with us here on the program. Fantastic stuff to start the day. His Yankees are on at 4:35 Eastern against San Francisco, looking to go 2-0 on the early season. Prediction, market's edge on the early line. We'll be right back after this short break.
I don't like to overthink it, Kevin. I really don't. And similar situation, I feel the same way when it comes to betting. I find like that Sunday night. So, you're watching the NFL games and all of us do it. Like, all right, let's look to next week now. You know what I mean? That Sunday, like, the dust is settled on the game. They just ended. So I'm like, let's look at next week. My first reaction is always the best reaction.
Game time decisions only on SportsGrid.
This is why the regular season, Joe, does mean something, because Detroit is going to get a back-end team in the East to begin.
Yes, and it does. And it's just a very strange situation, unfortunate situation for Cade Cunningham in Detroit. But the good news is, if you keep playing teams like the Washington Wizards, well, you're not going to need Cade Cunningham to win those games like they did last night.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We are really starting to see that slowdown, and we're anticipating it with March Madness this year. Obviously, you don't have as many states going online. Gone are the days when you're adding 10 states every year, so the numbers will inflate that way. And I mentioned prediction markets taking money as well. One firm, HG Gambling Capital, estimates that they'll add about another $500 million in bets.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
You can put your skill and your luck to work on Kalshi. Why? They're offering $1 billion here. If you can pick the perfect bracket, sounds easy, Joe. Just pick the perfect bracket, get $1 billion.
Yeah, I think the odds of actually doing that, Donnie, are about the same if you're expecting to hit the Powerball lottery 6 times in a year.
Prediction Markets Edge, only on SportsGrid.
Prediction Markets Edge on the early line. It's how we do business here. It's a Friday, and like we say, Friday is payday. So why not take some of that payday and invest your money on some things that maybe you can cash in here, Joe, in the future? We talked about some Sweet 16 action, some Major League Baseball. Tom Vecchio joined us, but how about into the future in the NFL, Joe? Polymarket coming up with this. New pro football CBA agreement before the 2027-2028 season. We just talked about so much over the past couple of months. Is the WNBA season going to start on time? Looks like it will at this point now. Or how about, will Major League Baseball have even a season in 2027 if they can get their CBA ratified? But the NFL's been pretty good with this. They know it hurts their product if they strike. So, Joe, a 34% chance to the yes that the CBA has agreed to before the 2027-2028 season. How do we feel about that?
Yeah, and I'll tell you this, Donnie. I mean, this was as high as, 50% when if you go back, and it's starting to decline here, that maybe there is a little bit less public perception that they are going to figure some things out here. So, listen, I ultimately, in this business, with how much money the NFL makes, they're going to figure it out, Donnie. I would tend to think that maybe we're buying the dip here a little bit, and we're going to wait for this to go up, because I don't see any way in which the NFL has any sort of issues coming up with a new CBA.
Like, you get volatility, no doubt about it, Joe, in the stock market. But understand this, what Joe's pointing out, like, you just slide this graph back to yesterday at 7:45 a.m., it was 83% at that point. Yep. Now you see what it is currently today at 34%. So people taking a lot of contracts out saying, I don't think this is going to happen, that we're going to ratify it, and something to keep an eye on, as Joe always talks about as well. Hearsay is going to move that market, and it's not like it's going to be decided tomorrow. You got years on this fluctuating up and down. Keep your eye on the prize, and as always, get in at the right time here. That's the name of the game. Highest grossing movie, Joe, in 2026. The Favorite at 38% as a chance. Spider-Man, Brand New Day, right behind it and coming out within the next week. The Super Mario Galaxy movie. Avengers Doomsday, The Odyssey, Michael, Toy Story 5. Some of the blockbusters expected in this year, Joe. Is it Spidey? Because everybody seems like they want to bet Spidey right now and invest their money that way.
Yeah, I'm not buying it, though. This is another one of those, Donnie, where perception, right? And what do we get here? Suppose Spider-Man's just not a good movie. And really, I mean, can't we make the argument that Maybe the public is just sick and tired of superhero movies. I think Super Mario is the way to go, man. I think Super Mario has got lasting power. I think it's going to rack in multi-millions of dollars here in that spot. So my guess would be the Super Mario Galaxy.
New rendition also coming out of Star Wars, but also the Dune franchise, Dune Messiah. That's currently trading at 1%. Joe, $100 investment here would pay back $4,580. We tell you this all the time. If you do, let's just say, wager and say, I'm going to invest in Dune Messiah, you know what's going to take place? If it has a big opening weekend, it's going to go from 1% to 2% to 3% to 4%, and you can cash out on that ticket here. You don't have to wait to the finish of the race here to make your investment profitable, whichever way you go here. How about IPOs, initial public offerings? You know who's the favorite here in 2027 coming up here to offer? SpaceX, 94%. Cerebras, how about that one? 90%. Discord, 72%, Joe. Opening it up to the people. Where would be a valid investment going in this market, Joe?
Well, you know, I mean, SpaceX is the latest and greatest, right? That's where the headlines are. That's what we keep hearing about. And to me, I think that's where they're 94 cents. What do you think? The market is telling you what the answer is here, Donnie. That's that one is going to be there first. There's a couple of them, including Discord, I think, which is interesting.
Yes.
But yeah, I like the yes markets there because it feels like it's happening sooner rather than later.
How about Waymo out there? You know, you get a little, hey, sit in the back seat, have this car drive you around. We saw a couple on fire in Los Angeles. How about a no contract on Waymo, Joe? $100 investment would pay back $123. Now, if anybody out there is trying to shop for a property, markets are hot right now, but you're not getting much help here from the federal government. During COVID, you were getting rates around 2 and 3%. Those numbers are now 6% now. So the Fed, help us out. Number of rate cuts in 2026, 0, 1, 2. Joe, if it was up to Trump, we'd have 11 rate cuts in 2026. Not up to him.
Yeah, and this is another one of those very volatile markets that will absolutely shift based upon the reports and what we're hearing and headlines and those types of things. I think you can't go wrong with one to the yes, but you could also get yes with 0, and I still think at a price that you can win either way if there's none or one.
Come on, Joe. Let's get 4 cuts for 100 bips. $100 investment pays back almost $1,700 in your back pocket, and rates are lower. You can reinvest in the prediction markets. It's how we get down. Thanks for joining us here on a Friday for Prediction Markets Edge on the early line. We'll see you on Monday. Have a great weekend.
I don't like to overthink it, Kevin. I really don't. And similar situation, I feel the same way when it comes to betting. I find like that Sunday night, so, you know, you're watching the NFL games, and all of us do it. Like, all right, let's look to next week now. You know what I mean? That Sunday, like, you know, the dust is settled on the game. They just ended, so I'm like, let's look at next week. My first reaction is always the best reaction.
Game time decisions only on SportsGrid.
Why the regular season, Joe, does mean something, because Detroit is going to get a back-end team in the East to begin.
Yes, and it does. And it's just a very strange situation, unfortunate situation for Cade Cunningham in Detroit. But the good news is, if you keep playing teams like the Washington Wizards, well, you're not going to need Cade Cunningham to win those games like they did last night.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We are really starting to see that slowdown, and we're anticipating it with March Madness this year. You know, obviously, you don't have as many states going online. You know, gone are the days when you're adding 10 states every year, so the numbers will inflate that way. And you mentioned prediction markets taking money as well. One firm, HG Gambling Capital, estimates that they'll add about another $500 million in bets.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
You can put your skill and your luck to work on Kalshi. Why? They're offering $1 billion here. If you can pick the perfect bracket, sounds easy, Joe. Just pick the perfect bracket, get $1 billion.
Yeah, I think the odds of actually doing that, Donnie, are about the same if you're expecting to hit the Powerball lottery 6 times in a year.
Prediction Markets Edge, Only on SportsGrid.